Once again, welcome everyone. Thanks for logging into the SEO-U resume webinar where you will learn to fine-tune your resume. My name is Avilia Guardiola, and I'm an SEO alum of the class of 2007. I'm also on staff as an assistant director, so I'm very excited to have the opportunity to present this webinar to you. And I just want to commend you all for taking the time to be really invested in your development early on and even throughout your summer, as I know this might be technically your break, or for those of you in internships, the continued development in yourself is going to really pay off dividends in the future. So let's go to the first slide. So 6 seconds and 30 seconds, what this represents. The 6 seconds is basically the time that a recruiter is going to take to figure out whether you're a fit for the program or not based off of your resume. So things that a recruiter might focus on is the school name, the GPA, your internships and work experiences, perhaps your affiliations, your leadership. And so once they sort of get a sense of who you are based on the bold titles on your resume, then you take another 30 seconds to really figure out, is this student someone we want to see in an interview? Do they put forth a strong enough case that's compelling to invite them into the next phases, whether that is invite them to speak about a brand camp or invite them to speak about an interview, whichever partners you're speaking to. This is typically the amount of time that's taken to sort of make those initial assessments about your resume. So the goal of today is to make sure that you understand the power of your resume. We want to make sure that we walk you through scenarios that help you understand how your resume is going to lead to getting you the interview and then ultimately, hopefully, the offer. Your resume should be your guiding tool as you approach this process in the interview, and we want to make sure that you are well aware of the tools and resources in terms of how to strategically position your experiences on your resume. So I just want to set up some guidelines in terms of the feedback that you're going to receive on this webinar. We're completely aware that there are a lot of credible resources out there that are going to be guiding you and influencing you on how your resume should look and feel. What we just wanted to lay down the framework in terms of understanding that our timeline is we're going to have a fall focus, or if you're listening to this webinar a little throughout the fall and thinking about the spring, we want the focus to be on the next up and coming semester. So for those of you that might have an internship this summer, we encourage you to at least add the title of the employer that you're already working with. Once you sign contracts to accept internships, that gives you sort of the right of way to add, that legal signature opens the doors for the opportunity to add this to your resume. And taking this focus also encompasses you knowing what classes you're taking in the fall. So as we walk through your resume and you hear about what relevant courses are and where you should add them, if you're taking courses in the fall, it's okay to add them because we want this to be a fall-focused or, in the future, a spring-focused resume. This way your resume is ready for the recruitment season as soon as you hit campus. The second thing we want you to know is that this is a living document. There's going to be a lot of changes to this document. We want to make sure that it ultimately represents your true self as a statement. So this document should be a very credible impression of your skills and your abilities. And we also want to just make you aware that these outlines should also be in your LinkedIn. This brings you back to life and sort of, being up to speed with the new recruitment processes that are out there. SEO, as a staff, we are very in tune with LinkedIn and recruiting through LinkedIn. So we really encourage you to make sure this document is living, that it's a credible impression of your current exposure, and that you would tie that in with the different tools that are available to you on LinkedIn to sort of showcase what's in the hard document on a living, active online platform. The template is also something that we wanted to talk about because you're going to get opinions, as we said, from different sources that are also very credible, but we wanted to just restate how this is a layout that's credible with our partners currently, and you'll be SEO career ready if you follow this general template. What we do want to say is that as you join the recruitment process on campus with SEO recruiters, they're going to be available to you to help fine-tune your resume in an even more strategic way. For instance, for those of you that are entering specific industries like investment banking, or some of you might have more of a technology focus, whatever that case may be, we will have to make tweaks to your resume to make sure that it's standard even within those specific sectors that you're pursuing. But for now, this is just a general broad template for yourself to be SEO career ready in general. So with that, we want to walk you through some of the main headers that are going to take place on your resume. The first, obvious, should be your name and contact information. The second being your education. And don't worry, we're going to walk you through in-depth experiences of what each one of these categories look like. The next is really highlighting your work and professional experiences. And some of you might say, Avilia, I don't yet have a professional experience. Maybe I work in retail, or maybe I work at a nonprofit. I don't have what I would say professional categorized experience. Well, depending on what you do for the nonprofit, we can help you position things as a professional platform. Or if some of you had, the fortunate opportunity to work in an internship your freshman year or your sophomore year in these very significant professional corporations, this is where that would be added. The next part is your professional development. This is the area where we want you to add programs like SEO-U, SEO career, any specific boot camps that you might have attended by any of our partners, any prospective student types of events, whether they're one day, a week long, a summer long, maybe over the winter break. This is where you use those resources to talk about curriculums and programs that help develop you professionally. Some of you might have a lot of experience through research or coursework. We know some of your universities really offer a very strict and strong curriculum where you'll have projects that are really beneficial to the internships that you might be interviewing for. So that can be applied in this section. Our next section is where everyone usually has something to talk about, is under leadership and affiliations, your community and activity involvements on and off the campus while your student goes into this section. And then lastly, we have a skills and interests area, and we'll get into the details of what skills and interests really do depict. Some things we want it to be aware of is that having an objective or multiple sentences at the top of your resume that talk about, a little bit about yourself and what you're looking for, we don't believe that you should have that on your resume. We are going to use the tools that we've provided above, under the education and all these other sections, to really prove that you have those skill sets, to prove that you've been aligning yourself with different opportunities to ensure that you're ready for those internships that you're interviewing for. Also, to the high school information, we are going to suggest that only freshmen have high school information, but even after your first semester, we're anticipating that you're going to continue with that really active leadership and involvement on your college campus, therefore eliminating the need to continue to use your high school information. So as we get ready to transition you from seniors in high schools into your freshman year in college, again, we'll accept it during that first semester, but we should ideally start filtering that stuff out by the time you get to your sophomore year. So one of the sections that I didn't touch base on that could be included in your resume, touched base on it a little bit in the slide before, but for those of you entering technology industries, you might want to have a section just titled technology, where you might talk about programming languages or development tools or operating systems that you're exposed to, because that's so prevalent to understand about that industry. We want it in a very nice, well-positioned spot on your resume. So the next screen you should be seeing, let's see, one second. Okay, so this is an example of what you should have on your contact information section, right? This is what it should look like. So you would put your name across the top, and then your address, your email address, and then your phone number. We don't want it to take up too much of the space on your resume. We want to fill that with very relevant content. So we really try to keep your name and address and contact information to 2 lines. If anybody has any questions about this, feel free to address them in the chat, and we can get through each one of these sections, addressing your questions as we move along. So don't be shy if anything comes up that you have questions about. So I think this is pretty straightforward. One thing that we do want to note is make sure that you get rid of all the crazy ringtones and playbacks that might show up on your voice messages as you become, seasoned professionals and young professionals throughout your career. You want to make sure that you monitor that voicemail prompt. So next is the education section. This is generally what it should look like. You should have your university and your city and state. You don't have to completely spell out the state. For instance, Arizona can be abbreviated with AZ. We do want to make sure that you have your expected graduation month and year, because this is a lot of the times how corporations define what your actual grade level is. So for instance, if you're graduating in May of 2016, you're a senior, right? And so you just want to make sure that your month and year is accurately stated there. And as you start adjusting it, if you need to, if you're going to adjust your graduation dates, this also needs to adjust in tandem. So the next part is your majors and your minors. Make sure that your minor is very relevant to your story. So, let's say you're a finance major, but then you have this art history minor. Make sure that you have a well thought out strategy around the connection between the two, because that might alert a recruiter to say, okay, where's the student's real focus and what are his true or her true intentions? If you need to save space, you can combine your honors, awards, and scholarships section. Also, too, under relevant courses, you should list all of those very quantitative courses. If you're applying for a finance role, you should have your finance or your accountings or your econs. If you're applying to marketing roles, you should have your, maybe your psychology and your marketing classes listed on there. And remember not to put, econ 101. We don't always know what that is. Usually it's micro econ or macro econ. It's better that you say that and make sure that you use your transcripts to make sure you're really stating the right names of the courses. If it's a class that you're going to take in the fall, so for instance, it's coming up fall, if you're taking Intro to Finance or Intro to Corporate Finance, add it. We would just say put a little asterisk next to it so that people understand, okay, it's not on my resume yet, but it's something that I'm taking this fall, and I just want you to be aware of the fact that I will have developed that skill set by the time the fall semester is over and before I would start with you next summer. Some of you might have off transcript learning, things like Zoologic or Coursera or HBX Core. Those are programs that exist for you to build that technical development. For those of you who come from liberal arts schools and don't get the opportunity to really drill down into finance or drill down into accounting, but you take courses like HBX Core platform or you take courses through Zoologic and you feel very comfortable talking about those, you would then add a new section maybe where it says relevant coursework, the way that's stated, but you put off transcript learning, and here is where you would list those opportunities you've taken advantage of. Under professional experience, so this is the meaty part of your resume, right? If once you have your summer internships, you want to be able to state the company that you worked for, the city and state that it was in, the length of time that you were there. So make sure your month and year are very consistent, right? If you're going to put Jan 2015 through March 2015, you want to make sure you either use the full month name or the abbreviated month name. Just make sure that the formatting consistently is thorough throughout. You're going to want to list the position, and then this is where you get into the very meaty content of your skills and abilities by really captivating what you did in a strong bullet point. We want to make sure that each bullet point is action, result, success oriented. And you might be thinking, okay, Amelia, what is action, result, success? Like, how do I make my bullet point sound awesome? So we're going to give you a little bit of guidance on how we think you can attack that strategy, and we're going to give you some working exercises to work through to make sure that you're able to grasp exactly how to take your experiences and transform them into this format. So what we're trying to sort of highlight for you is that it's a natural inclination for a recruiter for their eyes to be drawn to the parts of your resume that have the most bullet points, because that signals to us this is the part that's really important for this student. This is the part that the student really wants me to focus on. So we would say 2 to 4 bullet points under each experience. Again, this is just a general rule of thumb. Once you meet your recruiters on campus, and you've really followed this guide, thoroughly, you meet with your recruiter and you say, I'm thinking about modifying it less than the 2 or more than the 4. What are your thoughts and perspectives? Again, this is just a guideline. We anticipate that each bullet point would be a single line item, but if you carry it over to the second, just make sure that it's a well thought out bullet point so that it's not just ramble. You want to make sure you're concise, effective, and efficient with every single bullet point. So you want to start every bullet point with a very strong action verb. These can be found on the company's website. It's a really, really powerful tool for you to look at job descriptions to really depict what verbs, what type of action verbs are associated with these roles, and how can I start each one of my bullet points with a very strong, unique action verb. Very unique, meaning very different at every bullet point. For instance, you should have analyze, researched, consolidated. Those are examples of strong action verbs. You want to be results oriented. You want to talk about how the action that you did turned into a result. And then you want to prove that there was success behind your work. And then lastly, we want to make sure that no periods at the end of each of these bullet points are necessary. They're not all going to be thorough. They're not all going to be complete sentences. So we just want to make sure that you understand that the periods are not necessary. So going back into the action result success model. So the first one is making sure that we start with that really strong action verb, that you have an industry focus, that you're using terms related to the industry. If you're going into finance, being analytical, being researched, analyzed, influenced, very strong action verbs really set the tone of your resume. The next part is you want to have the result, focus on impact, provide a scope and insight into what you did. And then lastly, that success. We want you to prove it. Quantify your impact. That's super valuable. And if you really take the time to cater and invest in this part of the action result success part of your bullet points, it's going to make the interview run much more smoothly, because you're not going to have to sit there and think, okay, where can I get an example of this? And what was my action? And what was my result? Because you're going to have put so much time and effort into this, it's going to be very second nature, and your resume is going to be that guiding light for you. So here's some examples. Great. Screen change. Perfect. Okay. So you have a job description. It says in-depth software and hardware consulting requiring teamwork and interpersonal skills, right? A good bullet point for something with this type of job description or qualification is provided guidance on optimizing resources for clients, resulting in a reduction in costs. That's a good bullet point. That gives us a lot of color. But how can we make this better? Provide in-depth guidance on optimizing technical resources for 5 clients, resulting in a 10% average reduction in cost. So hopefully, if you can see the difference between good and better, let me get a high five or a hand up. Great. Perfect. Okay. Wonderful. We see that there. Wonderful. Okay. So if you can see on the bottom now, we have the action result success. We really pieced this out so that you could understand. The action was provided in-depth guidance on. The result is optimizing technical resources with 5 different clients. And the success is a combination, because we actually use the word result, and a 10% average reduction in cost. Okay, so I'll give you a couple minutes just to take this all in. We know it's a different way of looking at your resume for some of you that you haven't really taken that action result success model. We just want to make sure that it's something you adopt going forward, because we know that there are many benefits to really emphasizing this technique into your resume. So the next one is, there are some details. Hosted an annual spring fashion show fundraiser featuring over 50 participants. So something good would be to say, employed social media outreach and strategies to raise money to fund group activities and travel. That's a really good bullet point. When I see this on a resume, the fact that you employed, social media, their strategy, you fundraise, that's great. But it can be better. And this is how we make it better. Employed social media outreach and strategy to raise, quantifying it, over $10,000 to fund group activities and travel, a 20% year-over-year increase, right? Do you guys see the difference between good and better? Let me see that high five. Great. Wonderful. Thank you. So at the very bottom now, you'll see the action result success. So the action is employed social media outreach and strategy. Result is to raising over 10,000 funds. And then the success is that 20% difference, right? That's really the parameters around what this function is. So I'll give you guys a minute or so to really take in this page and understand the differences between a good bullet point and a better bullet point. And can someone down in the chat section just type, your name, just so that I can see that the chat is something active that I can participate and engage with you on. I want to make sure I can see that. Okay, maybe the chat is not. Okay. All right. If you have any questions about this slide, I'd like to take them now. Feel free to raise your hand and I can unmute you in the system. Great. Give me 1 second. Hi, Alan. How are you? Oh, sounds like. Are you there, Alan? Okay, maybe the mic isn't working. Anyone else have any questions? Oh, Renato, give me 1 second. Hi, Renato. How are you?
How you doing?
Good. Thank you for all your patience. How can I help you?
Yes, I have a good question to ask.
Sure.
When it comes to resumes, there are a certain percentage of people that have a really good resume and they have better bullet points. So my question would be, how would you make yourself different and stand out, not just as a better candidate, but a different candidate from the rest?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question, and I don't think that it necessarily depends on, your experiences. Someone could have a plethora of experiences, but have not a have a not so strong resume because they haven't employed these specific techniques we're walking through. So I think what you really need to understand is what's relevant to you. You really need to understand how did you make an impact? Really think through those questions. And that's tough, right? That's why meeting with your SEO recruiters on campus to really share what you did and just share your experiences and talking through those with the recruiter is really going to help the recruiter say, okay, Renato, stop. You totally glazed over this part of this experience. We think this is a marquee experience. And so, what really makes the difference between good, better, and great is understanding the everyday activities that you would be doing in that internship. For instance, if you know you're going to be analyzing data, you want to think about a time that you analyze data and really think through it strategically. But a lot of the times, it's not that you don't have the experiences. A lot of the times, it's that you don't understand what the day to day is of the new roles. And it's hard for you to say, I'm well positioned to interview for that role with this resume because you don't understand those roles. So I would say spend a lot of time really digging deeper and talking to your SEO recruiters to talk about, can you give me more color on what the day to day is like so I know exactly what to highlight on my resume because I have a lot of valuable skill sets. I just want to make sure I'm highlighting the right ones. Does that help, Renato?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Okay, no problem. So as we move on to this next section, this is your turn. So here's a scenario. Juan is our intern, and he's going through this experience in his internship. And we found a good way to highlight and captivate his experience in this good section of the bullet point. So I want you all to take a couple of minutes, read through this bullet point practice, and turn this good bullet point into a better bullet point. So we're going to give you a couple of minutes, and feel free to raise your hand when you feel you have a good suggestion on how to really reformat this from good to better. Luis, do you have a solution?
Sorry, I'm actually working on the solution now.
Okay,
I
perfect.
wasn't aware that my hand was
It's
raised.
okay. I'm going to put the hand down and then let me know if you come up with one.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Julieta, do you have a solution?
Not yet. For some reason, my hand keeps going up and I keep putting it down. I'm having this constant battle with it.
Okay, okay, I'll take it all down. Patricia, do you have a solution?
Actually, yeah, same thing. My hand keeps going up.
Okay. James, do we have a solution?
Hi. Yes, I researched and implemented a radio advertisement that led to 10 new sales calls and 4 new leads.
Great. Okay, that's good. Anyone else have another suggestion?
Hello?
Leonardo?
Yes, hi Amelia.
Hi. Do you have a
Yes,
solution?
I have one question.
Sure.
The suggestion was perfect. It's just, wouldn't it be 50 new sales calls and 20 new leads? Because it's 5 sales associates and they each had the 10 new calls and 4 new leads.
Great. Someone did really well on their SAT scores, I'm guessing from this. Okay, Lena, that's a great point. Okay, wonderful. Does anybody else have another suggestion? I'm going to put all the hands down. If anybody has a different solution, please let me know. 1 second. Brian, do you have a different suggestion?
Yeah, hi, Amelia. Is it also worth mentioning that he was on a bit of a time crunch with the 7-day project?
That's a great identification. It definitely is. Good catch. So can you tell me what that would sound like, or do we want to hand it over to someone else?
Well, just continue mentioning the output. So created a radio advertisement within 7 days that led to 50 new sales, resulting in 4 new leads.
Great. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to put all the hands down. If anybody has a new suggestion, please feel free to raise your hand, and I'll love to listen to it. Okay. Julieta, are we still battling? Or do we
Yes,
have
I'm still battling with
Okay,
it.
okay, great. Destiny, do you have a new solution?
Hi, okay. Utilized market research findings to produce a radio advertisement that resulted in a 40% lead percentage out of new sales calls in 7 days.
Okay, great. That's it. So now we turn to percentage. Very insightful. Okay. Anybody else? Ricardo, did you have a new suggestion?
Oh, yeah. I would have put the created or radio advertisement that led to 10 new sales calls and 4 new leads for each of 5 associates.
Okay, so you just would have said you would have included the number of people that you worked with. Okay, that's an interesting spin. Okay, great. All right, I'm going to put all the hands down again to see if there's anyone else. Okay, I know Julieta and Patricia are probably just battling the high five hand. So let's move on to the next slide. So here's the example, and you guys did such a great job. Honestly, you really were able to identify a lot of different ways to really transform this. And so we really wanted to set up a scenario because we wanted to make sure that you all understood that when we say, talk to us about the impact that you've had, it's really hard for you sometimes to go back and think about what was my real impact? What was my real influence? If Juan hadn't really buckled down to think about, wow, 5 associates approached me and they gave me these numbers, right? That was feedback. That was physical feedback that was given. That couldn't be found necessarily in a spreadsheet offhand. So we just want to encourage you all that as you start approaching your internships, that you keep a very strict and tight agenda about what you're doing on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, so that you can see your own growth and development as you grow in that internship or as you grow in that role as a leader. Super important, and I'm so proud of many of you that were able to identify the numbers in the scenario, right, and then do the math on the scenario, change it to percentages, talk about the timing, right, within the first week of airing. This was a great exercise that you all did very, very well. Does anybody have any questions at this point in regards to how to do this? Okay, I don't see any hands going up, so I'm just going to go ahead and continue. So we want to make sure that you're excited about your bullet points, right? Because that energy and that commitment to what you did over that summer will come through in the depth and the efficiencies of your bullet points. And we just want to make sure that you look like this beautiful woman in this picture, excited and proud to lean over and hand over your resume to an employer to make sure that they're interested and want to learn more because of the focus that you've really put into each bullet point. So we want you to take that same approach with your leadership activities. The same type of emphasis that you put into your professional and work experience should shine through in your leadership affiliations. The formatting should be laid out the same way, and you should follow the same rubric in terms of the ARS model. Lastly, at the bottom, we want to talk about your skills and interest. This is a section for many of you that have, exposure to different languages and different fluency levels. You have different computer skills. You're going to want to list, Excel, Word. Some of you have, I'm forgetting the name of Access, right? Excel, Word, Access, PowerPoint, all those things. You want to make sure you list them here. Certification. Some of you might be Bloomberg certified. There's terminals on your campus. This would be a great place to start putting those certifications. If you've had an internship before and you worked on different platforms, you're going to want to add, FactSet and all these other resources that you had access to. Your interests. This is a touchy component. We want to make sure that, you stay away from things that might display a strong political affiliation or a strong religious affiliation, because you don't want that to become the nature of conversation, as you're trying to become employed by a company. Those are typically topics that you want to steer away from. Also, to just watch the language, right? For some of you, if you're involved in belly dancing, maybe you just want to say cultural arts or cultural dance. Or if you're involved or interested in history, give us a detail. Is it like Egyptian history, and what about it? So that'll be a conversation starter. Does anybody have a question about this? Adesola, did you have a question?
Yes.
Okay.
I've heard in the past that you can also put like other activities under this section in case you were not able to get it in the other sections of your resume. How do you suggest going about that?
Great. That's a great question. Usually under leadership and affiliations, you can put a new maybe you call this, leadership and community involvement. And then you can put a little section that says affiliations. You can put a colon and then list, Organization 1, Organization 2, Organization 3. You want to make sure that you keep stuff that's leadership, community focused, things like that under the right category, which would be under those leadership and development areas. But it's okay if you don't have a leadership role, but you still want to say, hey, I'm involved in these things. For instance, like a finance club, but you just joined, you don't have a leadership role, you haven't made an impact, but you want to put it on your resume. This is a great spot to put that. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Micaela, did you have a question?
Yes. What social medias would be inappropriate when posting on skills and interests?
I wouldn't just post that you
like if you're proficient or like familiar with LinkedIn.
If you're applying for marketing roles and things that really are going to incorporate those resources, I would say that's appropriate. Like LinkedIn is definitely a useful tool. If you know how to post, marketing and push marketing through Facebook, that would be relevant. But don't just post social media issues for the posting of social media. Like I have, I'm Insta famous. That's not something you might want to put. But if it has a very practical approach, absolutely. And again, thank you for raising these questions, because we know, your resume is going to change and shift person by person. And these are great questions. And thank you for raising that. Let me get to someone else here. Daniel, did you have a question?
Hi, thank you for taking my question.
Sure.
So you mentioned not to perhaps include things that are very polarizing. Would like an organization like a Greek organization, should that, if I hold a leadership position in that organization, is that something I should include in my resume?
Yes, absolutely. We understand that Greek life is a very important part of a lot of people's experiences in undergrad, and so absolutely, especially you have that leadership role and you're really branching out and taking on new initiatives and making a real impact. Absolutely, we highly encourage that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem.
Hello.
NASA? Sorry if I butchered that.
It's okay. I have a quick question. In terms of your bullet points, how long should they be? Like, can they can they be longer than one sentence or one line?
Sure. So if you look at
answers a second.
Yep. So if you look at this bullet point, we want there to be 2 to 4 bullet points under each section. We would prefer them to be a single line, but if they're going to roll over into 2 lines, just make sure that they're clear and concise and it's not a bit of a ramble. Okay?
Okay. Got it. Sorry, I missed that point.
That's okay. Alexander Burkle?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. So I have a quick question. You were talking about high schools earlier. If we have gone to a very well-known high school, is that okay to I guess, keep on the resume maybe through sophomore year or so?
I would say yes. I think there's a lot of students out there who have put up some really good arguments saying, when I make the connection, my high school has really gotten me to very strategic conversations. I would say yes. And maybe it's just the line item and the time and the year that you went, so it only takes up one line space.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Let's see. Daniel Q. Okay, it doesn't hear like I have sound. Destiny, did you have a question?
Hi, yes. So about the interest section.
Okay.
So would this be more professional interest or more kind of interesting, like personality type things? Like I have a friend who has like a FIFA line in his interest, and it's been a conversation starter. What strategy would you prefer?
It's a combination of both, right? It's mentoring is on my professional resume. NFL football and recreational football is a part of my resume. I'm really passionate about the two. You can balance the two out. It's okay. You want to show a little bit of personality, but again, you want to be very conscious and very mindful that you approach this very carefully. You don't want it to lead into, as someone said before, very polarizing experiences or conversations.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem. Aminata, did you have a question?
Yes. I saw the resume template in the beginning.
Okay.
I saw there was a spot where you put study abroad experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that if I were taking classes in the fall, I could put that on my resume. But what if I were accepted to a study abroad program in the spring of 2016, but I'm not attending yet? Could I still put it on it?
Yes, I think it's fine that you put that on a one-liner, and I think it's appropriate under the education area. It's going to be good. The recruiters can see, okay, for the spring of 2016, you're going to be in Spain, right? So maybe we just put an asterisk next to that, just so it sort of pops a little bit, so that recruiters are aware.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. Brian Starks? Oh, sorry, one second. Brian?
Hi. Yes, I'm having trouble getting my resume down to one page. Would you suggest just taking some of the other things off and using them as talking points during the actual interview?
Yes, so you're going to want to pick those the most substantive bullet points you can draw relevant to that. So, eventually as time goes on, my professional resume is 2 pages, but that's not what I send anyone. That's just where I keep all my notes, right? All my really strong bullet points. And as I start applying to different positions, I realize, okay, let's take this experience off. Let's take this bullet point off and just keep the ones that are really relevant. But I'm surprised that as a sophomore and junior, it's running into 2 pages. I'm sure there's a lot of formatting and little tweaks and issues that we could do to make sure we keep it all on one page. So make sure as soon as the fall semester, what university do you attend?
I go to the University of Cincinnati.
Okay, so make sure that you stay posted on opportunities where you can connect with recruiters virtually to help fine-tune your resume on a more specific level. Because, a lot of the times it's just, your margins could be half an inch all the way around. That's okay. Half an inch all the way around is fine. That's not a problem. And make sure that everyone gets in the habit of when you forward your resume, forward PDF versions. Because some people open in Mac, some people open in different versions of documents, and you just want to make sure that you submit the PDF versions when submitting documents. So, Brian, honestly, I need to see it to be able to give you more strategic feedback. But again, take advantage of us once the recruitment season hits, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, we still have more questions. Shaik? Sorry, I might be butchering that. I can't unmute you. Maybe your mic is not working. Destiny, did you have another question?
Oh, I did not. I'm sorry. I forgot to put my hand down.
Okay. Emmanuel, did you have another question?
Yes, I had a question.
Okay.
I recently attended an event at Morgan Stanley, and it was a one-day kind of professional program, and I'm having kind of trouble finding where that fits within my resume because I want to include that because that's something that I was selected for, and I feel I learned a lot through that environment.
Absolutely.
But that's kind of where do I put that in my resume?
Yeah.
Is it under education or professional development, and what would my bullet points be for that?
Sure. So it would go under professional development if you have room for that entire bullet point space, right? You have the room to do the big professional development header and then add that under it. It's perfect. Typically, anyone who's interested in really valuing that experience that you had understands what happens at these boot camps, right? So having a one-liner, maybe really captivating your day in a bullet point would be really, really helpful. And, maybe you talk about the selection. Maybe you were one of 200 or one of 50, maybe talking about that, really quantifying the prestige of that selection. But again, it's going to really be based on what you really developed there. Maybe you were able to, boost your networking skills. Maybe you were able to really fine tune the understanding of a specific sector. You just use a one-liner under it and that would be just fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem. I'm going to put everyone's hand down for a second. And if you still have a question, please raise it. I just know that some people still have their hands up, but didn't have questions. Oh, 1 second. All the hands went back up. Give me 1 second. Okay, I just unmuted Natalia.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
I was wondering, how far back in terms of work experience would you recommend that we go? Like, I've been working since, 9th grade of high school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it depends on what the new and fresh stuff is, right? So the new experience is what you're really going to want to talk about. And as you start filling up space, fizzle those old ones out. If you feel like you need to at least keep the title that you work somewhere, you can put other : and then just put the name of the company just so it remains on your resume.
Okay. And then also in terms of work/professional experience, I just had a clarifying question about that. Did you say we should include work such as retail experience or not to do that?
It's okay to do it if it's what's most substantive. If you've had an internship or something that's a lot more substantive, something more telling of your true detailed skill sets or advanced skill sets, use the more advanced stuff.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Let's see. Daniel Del Valle, did you have a question?
Yes. In terms of the font itself for the resume, I've seen in articles on like improving your resume that Times New Roman is sometimes considered outdated. Would a different font, such as like Arial, Tahoma, or Calibri, or something along those lines, would that look better in terms of presenting myself on my resume?
There are a lot of resources out there, but I would say not too much of a stickler on SEO career side in terms of feeling like Times New Roman is outdated, but definitely just visually snapshotting it, right? If it looks really clean and clear, of course. If it looks bolded and jumbled, change the font. And, a lot of people have personal preferences. There's a lot of public resources out there that you can Google that'll say these are the top 5 fonts. So feel free to follow those guides. But for SEO, we don't think any particular font is archaic. We just want it to look clean, crisp, and clear. That is very important.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Also, too, one thing to keep in mind is that your resume should be in reverse chronological order. So your most recent experiences should be at the top, and then as you trickle down, those should list thereafter. So thank you for that. Let's see. Shariana Davis?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
I wanted to know, I've done like a lot of customer service work. And I'm not sure how to highlight that in terms of the bullet point practice we just did.
Yeah, so
in terms of giving everything a number.
Yeah, it's going to take a little while. And again, that's a very specific question to you. So what I'm going to say is as soon as you get to campus, make sure you buckle down and try to connect with the recruiter to help you through that process. You're really just going to have to stop and take a step back and think through scenarios. Sometimes quantifying things isn't always going to be a number of sales, or it could be, you exposed your boss to a new opportunity because of what you did. It's not always going to be, not every single bullet point is going to have a number. The more, the better. But not every bullet point is going to have a number associated with that. Maybe the way you can provide the success is that what I did led my boss to be able to do A, B, and C, or something similar to that effect.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, thank you.
I'm going to put all the hands down just so I can get through the last couple of slides of the bullet points, but then I'm going to take all the questions that you have afterwards so that those that need to drop from the call can, because I know we're sort of hitting that time capacity. So let me just get through these last couple of slides. Resume pitfalls, exaggeration of experiences and skill sets. Sometimes people just really go overboard with the details, and you have to think, okay, let me sit in an interview, and I have to feel comfortable that the interviewer only focus on one bullet point. So make sure that you feel comfortable that if the interviewer is going to select any bullet point, you're comfortable talking in detail about each one of those, and that it's not an exaggeration of your experiences, and you can really talk through it. And we're not saying you need to have, a super in-depth story with every bullet point. We just want to make sure that they're accurate and efficiently reflect your true skill set. Grammar errors, please be careful with that. Formatting and consistency, we talk a little bit about this when you use the full name versus the number versus the abbreviation and the dates. If you're going to use fonts and sizes, make sure they're consistent throughout. We know that the very top, your name and your address might be a little smaller or a little bit bigger, but just make sure that all the headers at least are the same size and that all the bullet points are the same size. Verb tensity uniformity, make sure that if it's in the past, it's in the past. If it's something that you're currently involved in now, using a present tense is okay. This is a dollar value so that you can see how many different ways there are to reflect $2 billion. Using the number 4 versus the word for could help give you some space. And don't put anything on your resume, like we said, that you can't explain clearly and concisely. I guess that's it for pitfalls. This is just a little quote. We wanted you to understand that over the past few years, both Morgan Stanley and Goldman reported that less than 2% of their summer applicants, that they accept less than 2% of their applications. So we just want to make it very known that the words that you use in your resume, when you upload them into systems, are taken and pulled out of programming languages to identify what are the resumes that have those words that really resonate with what we're looking for, right? Excuse me. As we advance in the world of technology, these corporations are becoming much more efficient with how to, select the resumes they use, select the resumes from the pools that they have, and technological systems are really helping them advance through that process. So just be very aware that words and terminology and things that you have on your resume are really, really important. So make sure you work through them in detail and meticulously. Lastly, I just want to say that, hopefully we were able to provide you with enough tools to really get you to feeling like you can create your own personal and professional brand and that you're able to stand out in a crowd. And it really doesn't, it's not a matter of, I know people say, Velia, how do I get experience when they're asking me, telling me that I need experience. It's tough, but we really try to ask you to get involved in campuses early, talk to recruiters early, talk to professionals in your industry that you're interested in, so oh, you build presentations. Okay, I do that in this club. Oh, you work through data. I did that in this class. Oh, you actually have to focus a lot on communication and coordinating people and teams. I do that in my leadership role. So really put yourself out there. Your resume is, again, a living document that we want you to make sure that you're updating consistently, because we know you're growing professionally every single day, in a very tight, time-pressured environment, right? 4 years, you're going to become a brand new person from who you were when you entered. And this resume is going to change consistently. And we hope, again, that we gave you enough tools to get you to that point. Again, we're here to help you improve on your skill sets and your abilities and your odds of getting these internships, especially with us, because we want every single one of you in our pipeline. You already are in our pipeline, but we want to see you matriculate over into our internship program. So with that, I want to say thank you to all the coaches who were on the call. Thank you for everyone for attending. And I'm just going to continue to open it up to Q&A for anyone who wants to stay on the line and continue to have their questions answered. Brenda, did you have a question? Okay, Brenda? No? All right, we'll jump to Fabiola. Oh, I think I accidentally did not unmute you. Or perhaps your hand went down. Let's see. Let's start with Tom. I think you're unmuted. Do you have a question?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello?
Oh, I think we have
Hi,
two.
yes, I do. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, I have a question. I wrestle with this sometimes. Like an RA position, would that go under employment or leadership affiliation?
Do you get paid?
No.
Okay, so you might want to take that under a leadership affiliation. That's usually my gut instinct into do we put this under work and professional or do we put this under leadership? But that's a tough one because it could go under, professional experience because there are, people you have to, there are professionals who are paid that I'm sure you have to liaison with, right, and report to. So that might also be justification. Does who you report to get paid to manage you?
Yes.
But that's another way. So maybe then that's where you would say, okay, now let me put this under work and professional experience.
Okay, yeah, I was wrestle with that. Thank you, though.
No problem. Emmanuel Thomas?
Yes.
Hi.
I have a question about the more detailed section beside your position, and I was wondering what the difference between that and your bullet points.
I get it.
is.
So this slide, right, where you're seeing position more details?
Yes.
Sometimes you can be an analyst and then you covered Latin America, or you were a sales and marketing intern and you covered, Facebook retail, or sometimes you might want to get. Sometimes roles have a more granular detail. Maybe you were, a sales assistant focusing on, that's where the more detail would come.
Okay, and is it always necessary?
No, it's not always necessary. And sometimes students use this section too to also put like 15 hours per week so that we can see that you're working while you're studying. This is typically an area where you might add that. But no, it's not necessary. That's a great question.
Okay, thanks a lot.
No problem. All right, we got hands going everywhere. James Brissett, do you have a question?
I was just curious if we were to take any, not extracurricular, but any additional courses or any additional programs, where would we include that in our resume? Would that go under relevant coursework or in another section below that?
Well, if it's university related and it's on your transcript, put that under relevant coursework. That's fine, as long as it's relevant to the roles you're applying to, right? You're not going to put all your courses under relevant coursework. These are just the relevant ones. If you're taking courses at another university where it's maybe accepted to do, I forget what it's called, like cross-learning or something to that effect, that you could also add it there because it's going to be on your transcript. But if you're doing things that are not accredited by your four-year institution, like a Zoologic or an HBX core, you would have to create another separate little category for that, but within education. So not a new major header, but another little section within that, like the black bolded section. And again, just to make sure everyone's aware, the colors, this is all supposed to be black. The only reason we have red and green is to help depict the different components of the resume. Was that helpful?
Yeah, no, perfect.
Okay, great. Brian Landeros.
Hi, Avilia. So this question goes back to the professional development question we had before. If we have multiple programs along with SEO-U, is it actually okay to just slide those under the leadership and affiliation sections if we feel that we really don't have enough room to go ahead and add another section within our resume?
Yeah, I think that's okay. It's tough, right? As you start, if you don't want to have too many big headers like education, leadership, professional development, it takes up more space. So yeah, I would say it's okay to throw that under leadership and affiliations, and maybe you just change the title, leadership, affiliations, professional development, right? And put that all into one category.
Great. Thank you so much.
No problem. Emmanuel, did you have another question?
Yes, actually I do. Later on in your college career, like junior year or senior year, how relevant is your GPA? How important is your GPA?
Your GPA is always important. Always, 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 always important.
Okay. Even after you graduate, will it still be necessary to add your GPA?
Absolutely. It absolutely is necessary. You'll use it for applying to special programs within your firm sometimes. Sometimes you'll want to, get that extra professional development or, maybe take GMAT courses while you're employed. They're going to want to see your resume, and it could be a competitive process. As you think about applying to other professional development programs, just to continue developing yourself, your GPA is always and continuous, just like your SAT scores, the GPA, all this stuff is going to follow you now and forever.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Lilibeth?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Thank you for your time.
No problem.
Yeah, my question was similar to one before. I work as a tutor at a nonprofit, but they pay me through work study. So I don't know if to put it under professional development or, sorry, professional experience or leadership.
It's a paid position, and if it's probably your more substantive exposure you've had, put that under work and professional experience. Totally fine. Again, it's a balance between what you have. Like if you have stronger, more strategic professional development experiences, lead with that. But if this is sort of that rooted, this is the base for you right now, put it under work and professional experience. Not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Renato, do you have a question?
Yes, I do have a question. Thank you so much for holding this meeting. My question would be, I have developed my resume using SEO's template. Is there a way I can get feedback and suggestions, or have someone critique my resume?
What's your university?
Rutgers
Rutgers
Business School.
Yeah, so soon we're handing recruiters out specific campuses, and as soon as we get the exposure and opportunity to provide more detailed feedback, as SEO-U becomes evolved and developed, you're going to have the opportunity access for us to give you feedback. Just be patient with us. This is the first year we roll out such a large SEO-U platform, and the last 2 years SEO-U was 50 students. At this point, it's growing beyond our imagination, and it's turning out beautifully well, and this is just one phase of what you're going to continue to receive in your development through SEO career and SEO-U. So just bear with us. We definitely will be giving you those opportunities.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. All right, let's get Shirley.
Hi, yes, thank you for speaking with us. I had a question specific to HBX Core. So if we graduated or passed it with high honors, would we put in relevant coursework, HBX Core parentheses high honors, or do we put that into honors/awards?
No, I would actually not put it under honors or awards or relevant coursework, because HBX Core is not on your transcript. Relevant coursework is for transcript specific opportunities. I would like to see in bold the way you see, here, let me get there. Say in bold the way you see relevant coursework. I want you to take that same font and put HBX Core, high honors, and list the courses you did, right? You did analytics, you did finance and accounting, and you did econ, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so add all those 3 there. And congratulations on the high honors. Did you go to the testing center?
Yes.
That's wonderful. Yep. How did you enjoy that experience?
Yeah, it was great.
Wonderful.
Highly recommended.
Okay, and they had a scholarship component too, right?
Yeah, I did it via Amherst College, so we got financial aid.
Wonderful. Okay, thanks for sharing.
Thanks.
Tiffany.
Hi.
Hi.
I just had 3 questions.
Sure.
So under skills and interests, my hobby is hairstyling, but I kind of turned it into a business.
Yeah.
So how would I put that? Like, would I just put hairstyling and then, like, how would I word it?
If you made it a business and it's actually something that you gain income from, I wouldn't hesitate on putting that under work and professional experience.
Okay.
The skill set that you gain from being an entrepreneur, I'm sure will add a lot of value to any role you're applying to. So just make sure that you have the opportunity to sit with your coaches or your recruiters to really talk through and making sure that that's fine-tuned so it sounds very eloquent and that you're able to capitalize on the bullet points, really making them sound strategic and specific for industries. Again, remember those starter verbs for every bullet point. Very, very key into the tone of your resume, okay?
Okay. And then my second question
Sure.
is, I'm a member of NABA,
Mhm.
the accounting organization,
Mhm.
and there's a conference I'm going to in September, but would I put that under affiliations, like the conference, or would I just put NABA member?
I would just put a NABA member. If you don't have a role or anything like that, because usually NABA's an on-campus organization, so you could just put, affiliations : and then put NABA and then any other organizations that you're involved in where you don't have significant exposure.
Okay. And then my last question is, how would I put the SEO career on my resume?
SEO-U. So we have the internship component, right? And we're going over a lot of rebranding right now with SEO. So just be sure at this point, SEO-U is what you're a part of, okay? SEO career right now is labeled for those students who made our internship cut in our internships. So you fall under the SEO-U, which is our pipeline and development category. And you can put that under professional development, or you can put that under leadership and affiliations and then change the name to professional development with that.
Okay.
Okay?
You.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Brian, did you have another question?
Nope, not sure when my hand went up. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. Let's see. Tiffany, did you have another question?
Oh, no, sorry. My hand didn't go back down.
Okay. All right, let me see if I can get some of these. James, do you have a question?
Hi, yes. I think you just briefly answered it, but I was going to ask what you would suggest as a line item or a possible bullet point for the SEO-U, add that to the professional development section.
So at this point, since you're just getting started, it's a little tough on how to depict that, but you can say, attended resume webinars, and as you start developing the access that you get through SEO-U, build that out.
Okay. And also, I have an internship coming up that's beginning this summer, and I overheard you say once you sign that offer letter, then it's basically fair game for putting on a resume. So something that hasn't started yet, but that you want to make relevant on your resume, what would you suggest for that?
Totally fine. Fit the professional experience format. Put the name of the company, the city and state, put the actual start and end dates, right? So for you, if it's July 2015 through August 2015, make sure that those are the dates that are reflected. Put your position, your title, if there's any more detail. You don't necessarily need to put any bullet points. You absolutely do not want to put bullet points in anticipation of getting that experience. You do not put anticipating experience details. You put only what you have had exposure to on your resume. Unless it's like coursework, right? But at this point, we just want you to put no bullet points, but put the title on your resume.
Okay.
All right?
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Marcelo.
Hi, hello?
Yes?
Thanks again for hosting this. I had a question in regards to listing a position. I'm returning to where I was last summer, and I feel like I'm going to have more responsibilities, being that it's my second year. Would I just scrap everything that I had from last year and place my new responsibilities?
No, you want to keep the most substantive ones that you've had. So the only thing that's going to change are your titles. There are a couple of different approaches you can take depending on the space that you have. For instance, if you look at the slide that's up now, the way you have ABC company, you have position, and then you have your first bullet point. Sometimes you can leave the name of the company, but now take the position and the first bullet point into a new category under that, so that you can see, here's the experience that I had under this title, and then here's the experience I had under this title. And on the right-hand side, reflect the two different dates, right? That's if you have space. For some people who are a little tight on space, maybe you can put, two start and end dates, right, separately, like from, last summer, from last July to last August to this July to this August, and just put the and sign in between it, and then put two titles like analyst and return senior analyst, something like that. It really depends on the space and what you're playing with, but don't delete any old substantive experience. Just keep adding to it and based on the overall tone of your resume, you're going to have to balance what do I keep and what do I move, right? But you never want to let go of losing strong bullet points you've already built out. So you should have your super master resume, right? And then you can adopt and change and put according to the jobs and the roles that you're applying to.
All right. Thanks again.
No problem. Quavina, I cannot unmute your line for some reason. It doesn't look like you have a mic. Are there any other questions out there that I can take before we wrap up this call? Oh, Jessica, give me 1 second. It's not letting me. Jessica?
Oh, this is Patricia.
Oh, Patricia. Okay. Patricia, did you have a question?
Yeah, actually, I did. I had a question about the professional development aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I only have one experience in professional development, should I still like make a whole section for that, or should I just put it under leadership or something if it's only one experience?
I think it's okay. I think you can add that. It's an anticipation that you're going to get more of those experiences. It'll pop on your resume. Again, it's just a balance on space, right? If you have the space for it, sure, why not?
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
No problem. Any other questions out there? I'm sorry, Jessica, it's not letting me unmute you, so I can't really make any adjustments there. Okay, going once. Any more raised hands? Going twice. All right, everyone, thank you so much for dialing in and being so attentive on the call. We look forward to interacting with you in the next steps of SEO-U. Just be patient with us as we, finalize and wrap up the next phase details for you, and just stay close to your emails. Enjoy the rest of your week, and thank you again for your time, and congratulations on developing and investing in yourself.